Pick the Nintendo Shack and pray. Frederick from Fire Emblem Awakening says, yo.
Greetings, Koobalings. Welcome to this week's episode of the Nintendo Shack podcast. Things are getting good. I am joined here by Garret. Elaine is out this week. We will miss her very, very much this week, especially since we have a lot of Metroid goodness to talk about with you. Me and Garret have played a lot of the game. I have beat it. Garret, I think you're making some progress. We'll talk a lot about that. We have some news stories about Metroid Dread. We have some news stories about the OLED, some exciting things going on in the Nintendo Switch world, but things are getting good. We were just talking a little bit about the show, about how this is the time where things are starting to get rolling for the Switch, and
more and more games coming out. I can't wait for the holiday.
For the holidays, things are getting good, and I think they're only going to get more exciting from here on out. So, before we get into that, Garret, why don't you thank our live on-air producers for the show?
Yes, thank you, Edwin Callow, AJ Pentecost, Chris M, Devin Tyus, Horsegill69, Joe Wilson, Josh Barboni, Kyle Heyman, Nick Creature, Nick Fall Harbor, Paul Calico, RJ Kern, Stephen Keller, and Zach Adams. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for your continued support, everybody. Garret.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm doing okay.
How are things in Garret damn Blaine Explosions world?
You know the meme where the dog is sitting in a chair, everything's on fire, and I'm saying this is fine. This is me right now. This is the definition right now.
Oh no.
With me. It's okay though. I got more story time for you. I think I have some
this
little
is like the third or fourth week in a row story time with GB.
Yeah. And it's a very short story. But I'll say it anyways. I had a meeting with my advisor. As everyone knows, I'm a PhD student right now. And he was like, Garret, it's mid-October. You're supposed to graduate in the end of the year. So why don't you hand me your first draft of your thesis in a month? And that just hit me like a brick wall in the head. I knew it was coming up. It's not like I knew it was getting close to the end. It's just like sudden realization that's a month. Have to
getting real.
Stuff is getting real. So
I thought you were going to say he would expect you to have the first draft like today. Like, you've been working on it, right? You've been working on it. Let's see it.
I know that would really suck. Now, at least he gives me a few weeks to like mull it over. I got to finish another paper and so many different things I got to do, but I'll get it out of the way. I'm going to be very busy. My gaming time is going to be bare minimum in the next.
You've already been busy.
2 months. Yeah. So, but but other than that, I'm doing good. How about you?
All going to be worth it.
Yeah.
Things are good. So I'm sure we'll get into the Dread stuff. I know you've been playing. I've been playing. Before we get into that, though, I do want to share, and I wish Elaine was here for this episode.
Right?
We'll have to talk about it more next week. But we hung out over the weekend. We went to the Too Many Games convention. And it was such a good time. Yeah, it was really fun. I wasn't really sure how it would be with pandemic and everything. And the only reason why I decided to go was because they required the face masks and everything. They didn't require you to be vaccinated, but I felt okay because of the masks. I wasn't sure like how many people would be there because of it all, but it was just as crowded as it was when I went in 2019.
I believe it,
if not more, to be honest. Like, it was jam-packed, but it was good because there were plenty of vendors. I spent way too much money. I bought so much stuff. Elaine bought some really cool stuff. I can't wait for her to talk about it.
Oh my goodness.
I think she posted a lot of it.
I got very jealous.
The coolest part was we met Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario, Luigi.
That's awesome.
Waluigi, Wario, and I got a picture with him, and he signed this poster for me. So that was really cool. He's such like a wholesome guy, like, honestly.
Yeah.
He didn't just
super
like
nice.
write. for those who are listening and can't see what I'm holding up, he didn't just write like Charles Martinet on a poster and leave it at that. He wrote like my name, he wrote number 1, woohoo. He like signed like for like Luigi and stuff. So he really, you know, spent some time with the line was so long to meet, like, you know, to meet him. And it did cost a little bit of money to get a picture and an autograph from him, but it was worth it. So yeah, that was really cool. And it was cool to hang out with Elaine. She is so cool in person. Like she's exactly the same as she is on here. She's just so cool. So yeah, that was a good time. And
you persuaded her to buy a lot of stuff.
I did. You know, we were enablers for each other. She was like, should I buy this? I'm like,
what
yes,
our friends are for.
Buy it. And I was like, I don't know if I should buy this. And she was like, yes, buy it. So we did spend a lot of money, but it was fun and it was worth it. So besides that, I have played Metroid Dread. And
yes, you have.
Beat the game. I have beat the game. I spent a lot of time with it. Do we want to talk about this now, I guess, since we both been playing it?
Sure, let's go for it. Yeah.
I started it on Friday. Didn't get much time to play it Saturday because I was at the convention. Played it most of Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
I beat it last night. And I've been working on my review for it too. So I'll talk a little bit about that. But how far are you before? Okay. And for anyone listening, we're not going to get like into story spoilers or anything. No. Like we'll kind of keep it light in that regard. We're going to talk about our general impressions, maybe some mechanics and like some early game stuff, but we won't talk about like, story spoilers.
Yeah. So where I'm at is in the third area. I just got the power where you can shoot the power beam and it like impacts the other side of surfaces. That's where I'm at right now. So I beat the second boss. I'm a little bit past that. And now I have nowhere. I have no idea where to go in this area, but that's part of the game, apparently. Yeah. I'm not a huge Metroid fan, as everyone knows, but I did love Samus Returns on the 3DS, very much so. And so, of course, I would get Mercury Steam's new 2D Metroid game. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm not going to say it's a masterpiece like everyone's saying. I know the Metroid fans out there are ecstatic. I'm sure you enjoyed it very much. I think it's good to great. It's a very solid experience so far for what it is, I think.
So are you saying good to great just because you're not like into the whole Metro, like the genre and whatnot, or are you finding some faults with the gameplay?
I think so. I think it does really well for what it is, and that is the Metroid kind of style. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it other than that. It is obtuse. It is kind of, it's a different Nintendo game than you would ever see. So yeah, I just love the Metroidvania style of it, the exploration, but it has some linearity towards it.
It does, yeah. So this one I feel like is good for people who like the linearity and also for the people who like the open exploration, because it does kind of nudge you to where you need to go. So like, for example, you just got, whatever beam you got, and you can kind of look on the map. I'm a chronic map user in games. And so I will like open up the map all the time, but it does like show, and this is, I guess, true of every Metro game, so I sound kind of silly, but now that you've got that beam, you can go back and be like, well, clearly I should probably go here because it's labeled, now I can use this beam on this door, kind of thing. Whereas in other Metroid games, that's not necessarily labeled to that regard, so it kind of acts as like waypoints without there being like a direct waypoint that says like go here. But there's also open aspects that you can do some sequence breaking if you want to. So I think for those veteran Metroid players, they don't have to follow where it's nudging you along, and you can, break that sequence and it's a little bit more open. Right. So I think it's good in that regard. What did you think about the boss battles that you've done so far?
So I feel like these boss battles, I compare them to, I don't want to say they're like full on, like very, very difficult and possibly hard, like Dark Souls bosses. But it has that mentality where you go into there, and I feel like the first thought in my mind, I'm not going to live in this battle sequence. I'm definitely not going to survive this. I'm going to try to understand its moves. And then after a few tries, I'll probably beat it out.
Yeah.
The second boss I had a little trouble with. I was like, okay, what do I do? This is very confusing. But once I figured out how to heal myself, once I figured out what the movesets are, it's really not hard at all. to be quite honest with you, once you understand the movesets, you know exactly where to go and like the technique to do, and it's super. It's a breeze to go through,
Right.
I think.
And Daniel in chat, Duxer in chat, he's saying similar to Cuphead bosses. I feel that way totally. And as someone who like can't beat Cuphead because it's so darn hard, it's the same kind of style like you just described. Like you go into the boss battle, most likely you're not gonna, kill it on your first try.
Yeah.
You have to kind of learn that pattern and kind of realize that the bosses are predictable. So I feel like I'm a little bit I guess not confused, but like I'm seeing a lot of people say like, oh my God, this game is so hard. The boss, it's impossible. But like, you just have to be a little bit persistent and like recognizing those patterns because, and this is true across the whole game, all of the bosses, I think, broadcast their next move. So once you learn that, you're right. You're gonna succeed after.
You're just gonna learn the next moveset and be good. I think
it's not
I
unfair
understand
at all.
I don't think it's unfair much at all, really, because once you die, they don't. I mean, it doesn't take you like all the way back to like.
That's the other thing I was going to say. Some of the older Metroid games, for sure, like they would take you all the way back to the last save station, and you would have to trek. And I felt like in Super Metroid and Zero Mission and stuff, when I died to a boss, it was frustrating because I would have to trek all the way back to that boss just to try it again. But the load times are pretty quick in this. It's a pretty quick turnaround time, and I didn't mind doing bosses over and over again. There were some really tricky ones towards the end of the game, and I'm not going to spoil or anything, but oh boy, some of them took me a long time.
Okay. I really want to preface that I've been playing on my Switch Lite. So, and I feel like with this game, I think it's going to be harder on a handheld, especially with the Switch Lite versus, I don't know how you played it, maybe on the regular Switch handheld or whatever, but I feel like a Pro controller with a TV is probably best to play this, just to make sure you have full control of Samus.
I've done half and half. So I played about half of the game on the TV and half of it in handheld. And for sure, like the bosses, I did a few of them in handheld mode. And actually, I did beat the game in handheld mode. The final boss was so hard in handheld, but I got kicked off of the TV. I was the final boss took me a few hours.
That's what I hear.
2 or 3 hours to be the final boss. But I was on the TV and I got kicked off. So I'm like, oh no, now I have to like do this on handheld. But I eventually got it. It is easier with the Pro controller for sure, though.
Yeah, so I've been playing with Switch Lite, been struggling a little bit. I think there's something wrong with my left joystick. I don't know. Maybe you can answer this question. I think the one thing that's bothering me with the controls with Samus is the down direction, or even taking a knee on Samus. Do you have to I feel like I put so much effort putting I have to double down on my left joystick in order to make sure she ducks or something. Was that ever a problem with you, or I don't know.
Think so.
Okay, it must have been it's definitely probably the little nub. I'm gonna have to take it apart, or maybe some compressed air or something like that would.
Yeah, I don't remember having that problem. I don't know. Maybe chat can weigh in if they noticed anything similar. Like I said, I played it mostly on Pro controller when I did play, but yeah, I did a little bit of handheld too. The environments are gorgeous. I love how distinct each of the area feels, and that continues throughout the whole game.
Very much so.
Just beautiful areas. I feel like it hit the typical types of levels that you see in gaming, but it felt distinct enough that each one is memorable in its own way, if that makes sense. Again, without getting too spoiler into what those areas are. the story gets really good. I'm not going to say anything. I don't think you're at the point yet where like the story really gets good.
No,
but there is like halfway through the game or so when like something happens and you're like, oh my God.
Something
And
crazy comes up.
that kind of feeds into it. And that's like kind of past the point of no return. You know, once you get to that point, I don't know how you can't be totally hooked on this. Now, normally, and I say that because I feel like when I think of Metroid, and of course there's the lore, and you know, the longtime fans are very into the story and like kind of the deeper lore of the franchise. But I think for the most part, when people think of Metroid, they don't think of like deep, heavy story. They think of, you know, gameplay being the richest part of the experience. So this definitely pleasantly surprised me in what the story offered. It made me invested in the lore in a way that I don't think I was before I played it.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else to say that's not like super
Well,
spoilery.
I mean, the abilities on Samus pretty good. I like the progression in the Samus suit, the power beam, the morph ball. I mean, every time it adds like an extra skill, it feels like just another layer to like open certain obstacles or mechanics. But also, I feel like it tries to use everything like constantly.
Yes,
and like
that's definitely a strength. That does remain true for the whole game too, you know. And I feel like the Zelda games are guilty of this, where you get a new item, it's really cool, it's really awesome, and then you just never use it again. That's not the case here.
Okay.
By the very end of the game, you're using your whole toolbox throughout the whole thing, and I like that. I like that.
I feel like I'm using my missiles a lot more than I think Samus Returns. Because it's easy to get like health and missiles back. I think that's the one thing about this game is the flow of it. You can easily die in this game. It's like if you're not paying attention for like 10 seconds, easily there would be just these little monsters everywhere, and they could just mess you up. And it's like you got to make sure you're dodging, making sure you're using the right technique in order to make sure you're still alive. But once you like do a counter of those little guys, it's like you're back to full health. So it's just like it's kind of like checking you.
Yeah, and I definitely feel like, and I played half of Samus Returns. I definitely feel like that game helped me because you learn countering in that game. Like countering is a huge part of Samus Returns, and I feel like playing that game, I was better off for playing a little bit of it because I don't know that I would have taken to the countering as easily in Dread had I not done that. Going back to the items though, I think there's a really good mix of items that are like traditional for the game, that they appear in every single Metroid game, like Morph Ball, whatnot, and brand new weapons and abilities that she gets. Like there were some really cool new ones that I think are super creative and super exciting. So they did a good mix there as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, just even from what I've played, they do a lot of different things to make sure you're clearing obstacles and pushing certain objects around. It's really cool. I'm trying to think of anything else with Dread.
I'm surprised that you said it's good to great, but you don't have like that many problems with it. Is it just the genre?
Well, I'm indifferent with Metroidvanias. I do enjoy a good Metroidvania, like Castlevania Symphony of the Night, one of my favorites. And also I played Time Spinner, which is like a newer indie Metroidvania. It's just that it all depends on the mechanics for me and the flow of a Metroidvania. Not everyone is for me. I think this game, the fault of it, as I probably alluded to it before, it can be a little aimless and frustrating if you're stuck. I've only went to a guide once, and that's just because I didn't know you just had to shoot everywhere. That's just been my go-to.
I've been seeing this all over Twitter, and I guarantee you that your example was probably not nearly as bad as this one that's been floating around Twitter. But they do tell you in the first like couple seconds of gameplay, like if you're stuck, start shooting everything because there's lots of hidden blocks that can be, you know, that can be broken. So it does tell you, and usually there are some sorts of hints. But no, I feel like that is a standard for Metroid games. You know, there are hidden things that you need to use use the map and environmental cues to get
Mhm.
through. And if this is your first Metroid game, it's hard. It's really hard. The number of times that I got stuck in Super Metroid with that exact thing, just because I didn't know
Got
that
it.
you should shoot everything. I feel like everybody's first Metroid game is their hardest because of that.
Yeah. I think another thing, just going along with like it being a little aimless, it's interesting that you love the map. I feel like the map, it's good. It's very detailed. It's very nicely thought out, but it's really busy. There's a lot of
It
different,
is. Yeah,
like
that's true.
it feels like a labyrinth. I was like, okay, I see my little icon. Okay, that's where I'm at. Okay, where are the 7 different ways I can get to in this map, and where can I go to? It's like,
Yeah.
well, okay, there's this little block up in this little opening. Now that I have a morph ball, I can kind of go. Oh no, wait, there's something blocking. And so it takes a little
Yeah.
bit of time to interpret the map.
That's very
Um,
true, and something that I think a lot of people don't realize, at least I didn't realize this until, like, maybe an hour or 2 into when I was playing, that you can actually select one of the icons and it will highlight all of those icons. So
mm,
let's say that you just got the morph ball or whatever, or like,
mhm,
let's say like a beam to open a door. You
yeah,
can highlight all of the doors of that type, so you can see, "Okay, I just got the item to open this door. Here's where all of them are in this area." So you can be
I
like, "Okay,
see.
I'm gonna head here now."
Oh, that's
You can
much
kinda
easier. I didn't know
yeah.
that that was a thing. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
they
definitely look
don't
into
make
that.
that part of it obvious, and
Mhm,
it's really helpful,
mhm.
but
But yeah, I'm having a really good time. I'll be playing it every now and then when I, as you can tell, when I have time.
yeah.
I'm putting a pause on Eastward. It is, I looked up how long to beat for that game. It is a very long game. I did not realize it for an
Really?
indie. Yeah, they say it's close to 30 to 40 hours, and I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
I don't have that kind of time right now. I'll put it on hold. I know I'm gonna play it a lot more once I have more free time. So, but I
That's
want to wrap up.
long.
Yeah. And I see the beating times for Metroid, and it's around. It looks 7 to 10 hours. I'm like, okay, that's doable.
Yeah,
Um,
so that part is so it's a little bit misleading, the clear time at the end of the game, because it doesn't count your failed boss attempts. So like if you die to a
okay,
boss for an hour, it only counts your successful attempt.
I see.
And also, like, I think anytime that you spent menuing, like on, staring at that map or like, clicked pause or whatever,
Hmm.
it doesn't count that time in your clear time.
Okay,
But that being
okay.
said, my clear time was just under 10 hours.
Hmm.
And I think I spent a few hours longer than that collectively on bosses. So
Got it.
probably about like 12 to 15, somewhere in that range for me,
Okay,
probably. Maybe not even that, like maybe 12, 13, 14.
sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see people just like blazing through this game. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're just going at it. Now
The world records are under 2 hours.
already. I imagine it's gonna
Already.
be an hour, like a month from now or something like that. You'll just they'll figure out ways and cheats and stuff like that. So, but yeah, Samus looks really good, and like in her
So
scenes,
badass in this
yeah,
game.
yeah.
Holy crap.
The scenes with the bosses is amazing. She's just dodging and like going through and like being all like a Power Ranger. It's like explosions behind that she's like
Yeah,
looking all badass. I'm like, I like that. I
there's
like.
bosses that take up the whole screen that are like blaring on her face, and she just like stands there. She doesn't flinch. Her body language in these scenes, just how tall and confidently she
Mhm.
stands, is like she's amazing. She's so
She's the
amazing, and
best.
I love her so much.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I love it.
But
We
yeah.
have we have questions about Dread and our experience with it. We have
Hmm.
you have 4 questions about it that people wrote in to ask us.
Wow.
Gabs wanted to know, what is your guys' death rate, if any? We didn't talk about the Emmys. I feel like for as big
Oh,
as
I can't
before
believe we
we
didn't
were to
talk
get to
about
Gab's
the
questions, for as big as like
I thought about it in my
this is
head.
in
I
the
just
game.
forgot.
I know, same. Let's talk before we get into the questions. Let's talk about the Emmys. Thanks, Gabs, for reminding us.
Oh
Um,
man.
because I feel like I wasn't sure going into this game how big those parts of the game would be, like if it
Me
was going to
too,
be,
yeah.
because I didn't watch really any of the footage leading up to the game. I tuned out all the trailers and things like that, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be like stealth throughout the whole game, but it's really limited to those zones. What do you think about that?
It's I'm glad it's limited to those zones. Let me tell you, if that was the whole game, that would not be an enjoyable time for me. I'm
Right.
glad they segmented out. I'm glad also that it's not like you're in there all the time. You're like kind of weaving in and out of that section as you do other things around it. And there, it's like definitely a danger zone, and then mostly like a safer zone outside of
Right.
it. Emmy is scary. It's very scary, and it is brutal. They chase after you. You don't like have, and if they get you, you have a very slim chance to knock it back. And like, it's like 1 in like 1,000 chance for me because I'm just dumb. But yeah, once it gets to me, I'm like, all right, I can't do anything else. I am now getting used to dodging them a little bit. Now
Yeah.
that I have more of the skill sets and know where to go, it's like, all right, now I know how to navigate around these Emmys. But it's really
They definitely get, I want to say, easier. Your approach to them gets different, I think, as they go on. And I was a little bit worried because there are 7 of them total. I was a little bit worried that by like the 6th or 7th one that it would get tiresome. And just when it starts to, I feel like it changes up in ways that makes it not that way.
Okay.
You also have, like you said, you gain more abilities and things in your toolbox, different ways to evade them. By the end, I was just kind of powering through those zones without even really caring if they heard me or not. But yeah, those first couple encounters, they're really intense. And, you know, I don't love stealth parts of games, but you're right. I think because they are limited to those zones and there are clear escapes, you know which doors are the ones to get out and leave, makes it manageable. But yeah, those things are pretty terrifying.
I love when I just get out of the Emmy's eyes or detection or whatever, and I just like hide myself, and they like look straight at you, and they just don't see you. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe.
And then they start to leave, and you take one step, and they hear you again, and they come charging at you.
You do not mess with these at all. You can't go close to them either. I mean, at first, like the first time I encountered an Emmy, I'm like, how am I gonna play this game with this thing all the time? I think I died maybe 10 to 20 times in the first Emmy.
So that was Gab's question for us. Your death rate, if any, definitely some before disabling one of the Emmy. He says I always die a minimum of 5 times before I can get to one. I always panic and forget what my buttons are and what they do. Yeah, Gabs, that's very relatable. 5 is like the absolute minimum, and sometimes I just feel I will get so impatient and like just try to like charge through, and you can't do that. You have to approach it, methodically.
And there's so many little things in that area too. It's not just the Emmy. It's like, okay, how do you get around or navigate this obstacle? Or like maybe there's a little robot or machine right in front of you. It's like, if you slip up, if they make you flinch, you're done. Emmy is gonna come after you and you're dead. So these things are no joke. But once you beat one, very satisfying.
It really is satisfying, and then I like that it does kind of open up that area to explore in a safe way. The countering is, I've done it a few times successfully, but it's a matter of luck because it's not the same timing every time that you do it. It's random every time. So it's a lot of it is up to luck. And I kind of like that they make it hard on purpose, that it's a very low chance of successfully parrying it, because just like the other bosses, it doesn't really punish you. It just takes you back to the start of the Emmy zone. You're not going back really, really far. So it's quick to try again. That makes it way less frustrating for me than if I had to really grind that out.
I think I'm getting used to the Emmy. If they come after me, I think the last one I encountered, I countered it 3 times. I think I figured out that it's not like an exact timing, but it's just like a feeling when it's gonna try to
Yeah, you
get
can
you.
anticipate it after a while, and you will get better at it the more
Yeah,
that you try it, but a lot of it is up to luck.
yeah, definitely.
So yes, lots of death scabs. Oh gosh. Hobie wanted to know, in all my years of gaming, I cannot recall any pre-release promotional material giving away too much of a game for me. This is why I
Hmm.
was a little shocked when so many people found the Metroid Dread trailers to be spoiler filled. Now that you've played the game, would you say Nintendo spoiled too much in the trailers?
Hmm. That's a good question. I think the same as you, Rebecca. I did not like went out my way too much to watch the trailers of Metroid. I've seen like little glimpses here and there, but the only thing that was revealed to me before the game came out was the Emmys, and I know they
Okay.
were chasing somehow. And I know you had to navigate around. That's all I kind of knew was the Emmy sections. Not much more than that, though. Not when I'm playing this game, I'm like, oh, I can't believe that they just spoiled everything that I am doing right now. It's like, no, definitely not. I would never understand the flow of this game, the exploration, the story. I don't think that was really spoiled for me. But maybe if someone went out of their way and like watched every individual trailer, maybe you could piece it
Right.
together more and more. What
Yeah,
about you?
I didn't watch really any of the trailers either. I did accidentally see Nintendo post one of the major bosses, and I really wish I
Okay.
hadn't seen that because I really would have liked to encounter this boss for the first time by myself. I was going to compare this to the cycle of marketing leading up to Pokemon Sun and Moon's release. I know that's a
Mm,
completely different game, but I remember for that game, they showed so much. They showed pretty
oh,
much
really?
every single Pokemon that's in the game, that there were hardly any surprises by the time I was actually playing the game. They showed a lot of like story elements. They showed a lot of, the secretive characters and stuff.
Hmm.
And I remember thinking after that, like, I hate how much info they showed. I felt like there were
Hmm.
no surprises while I was playing. So I try to avoid that for the games that I know I want to be surprised when I'm playing it,
Hmm.
like Metroid, for example. Like, I don't want to know the bosses. I don't want to know the story. I want to experience that all on my own.
Hmm.
So I really don't know how much they showed in these Dread trailers, but I do know that they showed a boss that I wish that I
Oh man.
hadn't wanted to see, because, like I said, it would have been cool. But I don't think that ruins the experience that I had. I can't
Hmm.
imagine that they showed the really deep story stuff that made it really special.
Okay.
I can't imagine that they showed anything like that. So I would probably say maybe I overreacted a little bit with how much, because I did tweet and yell at Nintendo. I said, stop
I remember
posting
that. Yeah.
spoilers for your own game. That was probably an overreaction. Yeah, Josh in the chat is saying that particular boss should have been a surprise. I think he knows which one I'm talking
Okay.
about. I think they probably did that because they knew that a lot of fans would enjoy this
Hmm.
boss. But man, that would have been a nice surprise.
They
But
did a lot of advertising for this game.
yeah, they did.
Eh.
And you know what? I think if that is going to get people excited and
Mhm.
get the sales numbers to where it seems they are,
Yeah.
maybe it was worth it.
Yeah, they really pushed the marketing with this.
They did.
So if it comes out as success as a lot of people getting this game because of that marketing,
It's
it's
worth
like,
it.
yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. Yep, agreed. Marty says, since both have blown up entire planets at this point, who would win in a fight? Samus or Master Chief?
Oh
I
man,
think
that's
the
a good
answer is
question.
pretty obvious.
Well, here's the thing. Well, neither of them don't die. Master Chief, he goes through so much stuff. Like he's just stranded into space sometimes. I feel like in end of every Halo game, he's stranded in space, and he doesn't
Really?
die.
I didn't even know that he goes to space. What?
Yeah,
I don't
he
know
goes.
anything about Master Chief.
Yeah, he goes to play. I feel like he's supposed to die at least 7 to 10 times with throughout the franchise, but he just never dies. So, but I agree. Samus is probably the clear winner just because of all the abilities that Samus has. he would just throw around Master Chief like a rag doll. Now, if Master Chief has some sort of tank or something like that, or a helicopter, I don't know. Maybe it would be a fair fight, but I still think I think Samus would win just because all the abilities
she has Metroid DNA. She has like all of these, like, the abilities, like just her suit in general, like, oh man. And she's fearless. I don't know about this Master Chief dude. I don't know what his story's like, but she's fearless and she's like very strong, silent. Yeah, people are saying she doesn't even need the suit. Like, she's got the abilities without it. She can do like somersaults and stuff and backflips.
Right.
She can kick off the walls. Can Mr. Chief do that? I don't know.
He just no. If you've seen Master Chief, he just jumps, and that's pretty much
jumps.
it. He's not flexible at all, but he
exactly.
he can jump from a spaceship all the way down to a planet and just be fine. I don't know how he does it. I think it's some luck, but
so I will say. So I didn't know that he went to space, but has he saved
the first level?
Okay, I don't know anything about Halo. I don't know what that is. But has he saved the entire galaxy multiple times?
I don't know if you quite call it save the galaxy.
Exactly.
He saves random planets around in a Halo. Right? Anyways, Master Chief. He's okay.
I'm teasing about Master Chief, but yes, Samus would win. Shy Guy wants to know, what is the best game on Switch and why is it Dread? I would rank this pretty high on the Switch.
He's thinking about it.
I want to know kind of how I feel about this weeks from now, because I feel like once I just get off of a game, I'm like, this is the best thing ever. Like, oh my God, I'm reading all about it. I just want to talk about it with everybody. And I know that feeling goes away, but sometimes it doesn't go away. I don't know. I've always felt like Metroid is a niche franchise, but I don't know that it has to be. I feel like this game is very open and accessible to people who might be trying it out for the first time. And I do feel like, even though it's difficult, like we said, it's not unfair. And I like you said before, I think it offers something new for Nintendo fans that isn't really represented somewhere else on the Switch. It's definitely their most mature franchise, I would say, at this point. I don't know. I really enjoyed my time with Dread, and I would probably rank it in my top 5 Switch games.
Okay. I'm sure you'll mull it over. I know we're getting off a high of the Dread and all the videos that we're seeing, all the hype that we're seeing on Twitter. I think it's definitely not the best game for me. I think it's an enjoyable game.
Yeah.
For what it is.
You might just not like the genre. Like, I don't know. The genre, I feel like maybe it's still niche in a way. I do feel like it's become more popular thanks to things like Hollow Knight and whatnot, which is ironic that another game would make
Metroid a little bit more popular.
Yeah, but
I think Metroidvania is. I feel like even with Ori, and lots of other games, too, it's getting back pretty popular, especially in the indie space too. So I'm glad Nintendo has found a studio, Mercury Steam, to do their 2D Metroid games. I think they're the best studio to fit with with 2D Metroid franchise now. So
I have full faith in them. I feel like I was convinced of that after Samus Returns, but you know what? That was a remake. We gave them the full game. I feel very confident that and I feel like at this point I wouldn't want another studio to work on another 2D Metroid game. I would want it to be them.
Yeah, they are the 2D Metroid studio now, basically. And I think Nintendo's betting on that too. And they can probably shell one out every 3 or 4 years and be good. But yeah, I think it could be in my top 10 Switch games. I still have to, beat it and play through. But yeah, I just tend to attract to other genres and other games.
That's fair.
More.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And I give you credit for trying it and playing it, knowing that it's not a strong genre for you.
Also, this notion of not being worth $60, just throw that out of the just throw that to the garbage, please. There's a lot of, I mean, and it's not most people. It's not even like 2% or whatever. It's the very small amount of people on Twitter that wants to make noise and wants to makes you feel heard. This game, sure, it's a 10-hour experience. If you really are like not want to invest in a $60 game because of that time, it's just like, okay, then just don't buy it then, and don't worry about it. Just let other people have fun, and you're good. You can be fine.
There are many instances where I prefer 2D games than the 3D counterparts. Metroid being one of them. So I hope that they don't stop making them, because I really like them a lot. And you're right. It is value. We have a question in chat from Thrak. Do you think Nintendo would buy out Mercury Steam, the developers?
I don't necessarily think so anytime soon. I don't see Nintendo as the one to consolidate too much. We see that a lot with Sony now and Microsoft for a few years now. Nintendo is just a strong company with their franchises and their studios that they have, and I think they're good. And they're like, okay, we're gonna. Yeah, exactly. I think it's a benefit to both parties to not do that at all. It's to just keep how the partnership is. You make the 2D Metroid game, and that's pretty much your revenue stream right there.
I think that one of their in-house studios assisted with the development, so it wasn't just Mercury Steam. So that helps them budget-wise and whatnot. There doesn't seem to be like a reason for them to. It seems like they have a good relationship, and it doesn't need to. You're right. It doesn't need to be consolidated or restricted in any way. They could. Who knows? They could, but it doesn't seem like the Nintendo way from what we've seen. But
definitely.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about Dread?
I'll probably be playing it for the next week or so. Hopefully I'll wrap it up soon, but it's gonna, as you can tell, I'll be a lot busy this next month, and I do want to play other games, and of course my most anticipated game is still not out yet. So it's I'll be playing Dread probably until Shin Megami Tensei 5. When that game comes, it's just lights out for everything else.
Is that November?
That is, I think, 2 days before Pokemon. Okay. If I don't, it's somewhere around there. It's like November, I don't know, 13th or something like that. Yeah.
Right. I will give one sort of plug-ish, I guess. I am reviewing Metroid Dread for Twinfinite. We didn't get an early code, so I played it, and I'm finishing up my review now. If all goes well, it will probably be published tomorrow on Friday, if you're listening to the recording. So head over to my my Twitter feed and look for that review. Please read it. I know nobody really cares too much about reviews like a week after the game has released, but I don't know. Maybe I'll say some things that I didn't say here tonight. I don't know. We'll see.
You have bunch different unique thoughts.
I give it. I'm not going to say what score, so you can at least go see the score that I give it.
There you go. We've seen a lot of reviews now of Metroid Dread. Of course, you'll probably have your own thoughts and unique thoughts about it. So go read it.
Thanks. All right, let's get into this week in Nintendo. We have some interesting sales figures coming from Japan. So last week in Japan, we know that OLED released. The Switch sold 180,000 units across all models, which is its highest levels since May. This has come from Bloomberg.
Nice.
Of those 180,000, the OLED sold 138,000 of those, which is below the Lite's 178,000 launch numbers. Now, this could be from a variety of factors, including they had the lottery sales. So they had actual limited number of these consoles to sell due to the supply problems. We know that that's still kind of plaguing the console market right now, as well as just price differences. The Lite is considerably cheaper than the OLED. Some people might not be ready to make that jump due to the price. What do you think?
This is a very good success for the OLED. I kind of expected these kind of sales, and of course this is not indicative of the total sales that's going to come out of the OLED, but I'm glad it's really high up there in Japan. I'm sure it's going to just launch. It'll be a nice refreshment of Nintendo Switch sales in general. But yeah, other than that, that's just all around positive. And I'm struggling to get a Switch OLED as well, of course. But I'm sure they'll have restocks, and I've seen it on Amazon and Best Buy here and there. I'm sure when it comes to Black Friday, even around Christmas time, there'll be definitely more restocks of these consoles.
Think so. Yeah, I think they're a little bit hard to get right now. I think definitely because of the supply problems. But I feel like once that initial wave is over, you'll start seeing them even on shelves. I do think they're going to push this pretty hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. I think it is expected that the lower numbers than the light, just the nature of what it is. But I do think that's very promising, especially since it is the highest level since May. They're moving these consoles, the ones that do exist. They're moving them.
I don't know if they tout it too much as a premium product, but that $50 markup and seeing these, just the slight difference and decrease in sale, well, not decrease in sales, but the difference in these sales, I think it just balances out quite nicely for them. And of course, they're going to just push this OLED to be the regular console edition and just kind of phase out the older model. So I'm sure Nintendo knows exactly what they're doing with these models.
For sure. Speaking of sales numbers, so Metroid Dread has sold, listen to this, 86,000 physical units since launch in Japan. We only have Japan sales numbers right now and only physical sales numbers. Doesn't sound like a lot, but this is a franchise record for Japan.
Wow.
I wanted to give some numbers in comparison. Here are some of the lifetime sales numbers for Metroid games in Japan. So lifetime compared to this first week, 86,000 for Dread. Prime 1 sold 78,000 units lifetime physical. Zero Mission sold 85,000 units physical. Samus Returns on the 3DS sold only 42,000 in Japan. So this sold more than double of what Samus Returns sold in its first week than it did in its lifetime in Japan. And we know that it's not a huge franchise in Japan. It's definitely a lot more popular in the West. So even though we don't have those digital sales numbers right now, or we don't have the global sales numbers just yet, I do feel like this is very promising for what we predicted of it being the most popular Metroid game yet, as far as sales go. What do you think?
It is very telling. I expect Metroid Dread to be probably the best selling Metroid game possibly ever in lifetime sales, just because of the audience of the Nintendo Switch now, massive. And Nintendo pushed this marketing like no other. I feel like the only I'm trying to think of any other game they push it this hard. And I don't know, maybe Luigi's Mansion, not even Luigi's Mansion that much. Or Mario Odyssey had a few. The thing with Mario and Zelda, they don't need to push the market. They can push the trailers and that's it. With Metroid Dread, they're like, we have a gym in our hands that's so different than our other games. Let's push this as much as we can. And I think that's proving to be a little successful here, what we see in Japan. I feel like it'll reflect across the whole board with US and
I can't remember them pushing a game harder than this, at least not recently. We even saw like the billboards and whatnot in Japan. Like this is not a huge franchise in Japan at all. So these numbers might sound low, but it's a big deal for them. And I feel like that's going to be reflective of global sales too. You talked about that kind of being, a common theme with the Switch here, with it selling the most games of the franchise. I saw a tweet earlier that listed all of these articles. Breath of the Wild is the best-selling Zelda game of all time. Super Mario Odyssey is the best-selling 3D Mario game. Pikmin 3 Deluxe is the best-selling Pikmin game. Smash Bros. Ultimate is the best-selling fighting game ever. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the best-selling racing game ever. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is the best-selling Musou game ever. Fire Emblem Three Houses is the best-selling entry in the Fire Emblem franchise. So you're right. This is the Switch effect and like what it's doing. And I don't see why Metroid that wouldn't be any different.
And I hope And I think Nintendo knew that, and they really want to push this. And I wonder how far they can go with these sales and how it surprises them that they're bringing this franchise kind of back and having a brand
Animal
new
Crossing
2D.
is another one. Someone said
Yeah,
Animal Crossing. It's another one.
that's true. That's true.
Yep.
And I can't wait till, if ever, the Metroid Prime 4 would ever come out, what that's going to be like and what are those kind of sales. But yeah, I'm glad that Metroid is kind of back. It feels like it's revived a little bit than before. So
Oh, for
it's
sure,
good.
for sure. And we were talking about putting the Prime Trilogy as a way to get more Metroid fans and lure them in. But let's be real. I don't think people would have been as excited about Prime Trilogy as they were about this, because this is new. This is shiny. This is what Mercury Steam made. It's not something that people have, played and have opinions about already. This was the way to make Metroid fans all along, so that you're right, when Prime 4 comes down the road. Yeah, it's gonna be good. Gonna be good. Awesome. I can't wait to see global sales numbers for this. I'm very excited. I think it'll, not like right away, but I think by the end, I think it'll pass 5 million.
5 million. It could.
I think it'll hit
that.
It
could hit that. I think 5 million's a good target to go by. I forgot exactly. I'm trying to gauge it. Wasn't like Fire Emblem 3 Houses like, is this 7.5 million? I'm sorry, I'm just pulling that out of my my mind right now. But anyways, yeah, 5 million is a good target to go by. I was thinking even like 2 million, that would be a success.
As of 2020, November 2020, Fire Emblem was just past 3 million.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. I was way off base.
It's probably higher by now.
So maybe 3 to 5 million is a very, that would be success. That would be a huge success. Yeah.
That would make it the best-selling Metroid game.
Yeah. So that'd be good.
Very excited. Some not so fantastic news about Metroid Dread. I was a little bit sad to hear this story. Some Metroid Dread staff say that they've been left out of the game's credits. One of the game's 3D artists posted on LinkedIn congratulating the team, but sharing that due to developer Mercury Steam's policies, the staff must work on the project for at least 25% of the total development of the game in order to appear in the game's final credits. Now, Metroid Dread was in development for 4 years, so staff must have worked on the project for at least 12 months to be included. This 3D artist worked on the game for 8 months. Another anonymous staffer worked on it for 11 months and did not appear in the credits. That, to me, I mean, I know every company has its policies, but that doesn't sit right with me at all.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, it definitely doesn't sit right with me. I think everyone who contributed to a project of some sort or another should get some credit. But this is not a Mercury Steam specific issue. We see this kind of all the time. I think the other one that was pretty big, I think it was Red Dead Redemption 2.
This is my first time hearing about this.
Oh, there's people that would freelance all the time into these bigger games. They would outsource to other studios and they would not be included in the credits. I think there was a situation with Bungie. I think it was one of those companies where someone worked on it for a while and then they quit in the middle of the project. Of course, they just quit their job to do other things or whatever. They were not in the credits because they didn't finish the production of the game. They
contributed assets.
Exactly.
They contributed, their work is in the game.
Yeah. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what kind of arbitrary policy this is. I don't know why they chose 25%. Yeah, I'm wondering it's because we don't want to make the credits too long. It's like, well, we're gonna press the stupid button to skip it anyways if we want to skip it.
So let them skip it. You can skip the credits in this game, and it's not long. And I actually noticed that because I never skip the credits. I always sit through it because I kind of feel like these people. I don't know. It's what I do. But
Yeah.
I noticed it was kind of short. And then today I read this story. I'm like, oh, well, that
That's why.
makes sense. That's why.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I've seen games that let you, if you don't want to skip it, at least speed through it and make it scroll faster. But I feel like if you contributed, and I know this isn't a big story, this is what it is, but I don't know. I feel like I pictured Mercury Steam to be like this amazing developer, and this sours
hmm
the taste for me. But
I think
you
it's
said
just
it's
one of those
not
dumb.
uncommon?
Oh no, it's very it's very common across
I
the
didn't
board.
realize
You
that.
see many
Jeez.
situations like these where they would outsource, or maybe someone will quit and they would not appear in the credits at all, and that sucks. Even like people who work on it for most of a project, if they quit their job, but if they quit in the middle of production, they will not be in the credits. And I don't think putting your name in the credits, I'm trying to think if there's some sort of benefit to it other than like, here's the evidence I've worked in it, but you should have that credit in
You
there.
should have that credit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you can still prove, if you're trying to get another job, you can still prove that you worked with a
hmm
studio or worked on a game. But I don't know. It's just the principle of it, of like seeing
hmm
your name there, just having that legacy there, 20 years down the road, you think of these huge games, like let's say you worked on Ocarina of Time and you weren't
hmm
credited. Like, I don't know, you don't know what game's going to have a legacy or impact, and you want your
hmm
name to be there if you worked on it. You
I,
worked
I,
on
I,
it.
yeah. I think there should. Well, I don't know if there should be a standard. There should be a bare minimum, and not a law or anything like that. But it's like, hey, if you worked on a project and it kind of, I don't know, a considerable amount of time, but that's hard to gauge between project to project. I feel like with 25%, it's very arbitrary. I feel
It's
like,
very, yeah.
um, you know what? I even feel like if you've produced an asset, one art asset of some
One
kind,
art
I
asset.
I feel like anything small like that, but it is in the final product.
And
You
even
should
things
be
to me,
in the
like even
credits.
if you produced any amount of like lines of code,
Yeah.
you did something. The game is what it is because of you. I don't know. Maybe that's just
hmm
I feel like it's the least you can do for getting all of those gears turning to get a game up and running.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it hurting Mercury Steam? I don't know. I don't want to spend too
Yeah.
long in this because it's just kind of a weird story, but
That's why I appreciate some companies that put they put hundreds of names or even thousand names or whatever. At least they put everyone that would be somewhat involved in the project to give credit
mhm.
for. I don't care how long the credits are. I
Yeah,
really don't. If that's your excuse, then please stop doing it. Just like put
right.
everyone that's worked on it. So
I also
anyway.
see a couple people chatting about, in our chat talking about a bug that was found in
Oh,
Metroid Dread. I had seen somebody talk about this actually. Somebody replied to one of my posts with it. For all of the times that we feel in Metroid games that we feel like we soft locked ourselves, but didn't
yeah.
actually because we were just missing something. Somebody actually found a way to soft lock themselves in a game. They reached a
Wow.
part of the game. They couldn't finish the boss fight because they didn't feel like they were good enough. They went back to go
Mhm.
find some energy tanks or whatever, and tried to go back, and they were stuck and they couldn't get back there. So that
Mm.
was like an actual soft lock. People in chat were just
Wow.
mentioning that Nintendo just tweeted they saw this bug and they're fixing it.
Good.
So I think it's not uncommon for them to state when they're fixing bugs like that and things like that. I can think of a couple games that had soft lock
Mhm.
problems that you couldn't progress, or maybe you would lose progress or whatnot, and they've pushed out updates pretty quickly.
Oh, okay. Sounds
So,
good. Hopefully
good
they'll update us very soon. Hopefully I'm not
yeah,
soft locked.
it's a very specific thing. Is you would
Okay.
have to, yeah. It doesn't seem to be very widespread, but glad they're on it.
Sounds good.
In other news, Grand Theft Auto: The Trilogy Definitive Edition was
Mhm.
announced, including a
Finally.
release for the Nintendo Switch. We talked about this being the worst kept secret. I'm pretty sure last time
Mhm.
we talked about the leak or whatnot. It'll include 3 GTA titles: GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. It'll feature across-the-board upgrades, including graphical improvements and modern gameplay enhancements. It is coming out later this year. They haven't set a date, but Rockstar said they will share more in the coming weeks. Glad to see it's coming to Switch. I feel like we've talked about forever how we want a GTA game on Switch. We feel like it'll do well, and these, I feel like are basic enough that the Switch will be fine.
It
kind of, I guess it depends. They really haven't shared much. We don't know how intense the graphical improvements are going to be or whatnot, but I don't foresee this being a huge issue for Switch.
It's also releasing on iPhone and Android later in the first half of next year. It's an HD port with some modern controls. That's really what this is going to be. I'm very excited for this. I probably won't get it outright. It is going to be $60. Just straight out of the gate. I don't think I'll get it day one, but if it's on sale, let's say for like $30 or $20, it's like, yeah, I'll definitely get down and play that on my Switch or my Steam Deck. We'll see by then. But yeah, I think Donnie is very, very excited to have this game on his Switch and on the go. So I can.
It's good for handheld.
Yeah, definitely. So awesome.
Thrax says a leak suggests that a physical release on December 7th for GTA. Honestly, I trust that because the leaks have not failed us yet. It probably will be that date. Yeah, cool.
Nice.
I will probably get this just to mess around in some of the worlds. I think I said that before. I don't really care about the story. I just want to play a little GTA, just run around and like steal cars and stuff.
It's the best.
We have a small bit of Pokemon news. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl got some info. There will be autosaves, which can be disabled if you don't want them. There will be experience share, which cannot be disabled if you don't want it. I know that's a hot topic of controversy for people who want to play a little bit hard mode. There's some quality of life updates that are pretty standard in the series now, like showing type effectiveness in battle. Something that surprised me, the TMs are back to being single use, but they said that there will be opportunities to get more. Personally, I hate that. I hate getting, the anxiety of, well, what if I want to teach 3 of my Pokemon Earthquake and I only have 1 TM and then it's gone. Depends for me, I guess, how many opportunities there will be to get more. And then finally, you can change the Pokemon in your party with the Pokemon in your storage at any time, which we saw in Sword and Shield and Let's Go.
Yes.
Which makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to go all the way back to the PC to switch out.
Yeah, so I think these are fine quality of life updates that I would see in a remake of an older game. The autosave is a nice touch, I think. And it can be disabled. Okay, cool. You can just manually save all the time if you want. Experience share. I have a little bit of controversy with this because I'm an old school Pokemon fan. I love having the experience just for that certain Pokemon in a battle or switch Pokemon. That's just how I feel like I earn my Pokemon's levels a lot. And that's why I don't really care for the newer games as much, just because of that experience share. And even when I disable it in Sun and Moon, it gets too hard. It's to the point where it's not enjoyable at all. It's like, this is not how I played Pokemon before. This was not the pace of Pokemon before without the XP share. So I'm actually just okay them having it in there, and I would not disable it by this point, because they just make it too hard without experience share, which is so weird to see. But that's just how they're doing the pacing of their Pokemon now, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll deal with it.
Yeah, I feel the same
what do you
way.
think?
I do feel the same way. I don't mind it being on, just because I don't know. I don't care to, like you said, I don't care to grind every single Pokemon individually or whatnot. It does make it go by a little bit faster. In some cases, it does make it almost a little bit too easy, I feel like, but I would rather that than make it way too hard. I don't know why it can't just be an option. I know some people feel very strongly about it. Why
Mhm.
wouldn't you let them turn it off if they don't like it? You know me, I always like more options than fewer
Yeah.
options for people who like to play in different ways. I don't know. It is what it is, but yeah, it just gives people fewer
Mhm.
ways to play. But
Mhm.
I don't know. It's not a deal breaker for me.
Yeah, it's not a deal breaker for me either. I think I'll very much enjoy this game. The
Mhm.
TMs are single use. I'm actually okay with it. I don't really
Okay.
use TMs too much. I feel like
You're the
every
second
time
person I heard say that, and that just surprises me. Like, you only teach them the moves that they learn from leveling up?
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. The TMs to me feel like they're actually like a card game to me where I just like to collect
Hmm,
all of them. And like once I have all of them, I was like, cool, I finished my whole TM set and I probably use whatever I want on a Pokemon. But no, I more often than not I don't put TMs in
okay.
my Pokemon in their
I feel
battles.
like, if you and maybe you probably don't do a whole lot of this, but post-game breeding and teaching specific
Oh
moves for,
yeah,
like, competitive battling, you might wanna have those TMs to teach, if
got
you
it.
have multiple competitive Pokemon. But like I said, if they make it, easy to get more, kind of like how they did in Sword and Shield, you could do those, raid battles and you would
Hmm.
get more TMs as a reward, or TRs, I think they were called at that point. I
Hmm.
wouldn't mind that, as long as
Okay.
you can make it so that you can get more. Um, in chat, Thrak is asking, isn't cut a TM? It was an HM, which
Mm.
those you could teach multiple times because they're
Yeah.
necessary for game progression. They already have said that they're making HMs that you don't need to teach them for the game progression because you can
Right.
call upon wild Pokemon to do it for you.
Which is okay. We don't have an HM slave Pokemon. Great. Um, so cool. That sounds good. And then you change Pokemon in your party storage at any time. That's fine with me. I'm not like it. That's just an option too. You don't have to go to your storage in the middle if you don't want to. I mean, you
You
feel
don't.
like the old Pokemon experience. You can go to your Pokemon Center and then go to the
Yeah.
computer.
Yeah.
So
It's
I think
it's
that's fine.
definitely a matter of, I guess, stopping yourself from doing it because it can put the game on super duper easy mode if you want to. Like, if half of
Yeah,
your
that's
party's
true.
dead and you're halfway through a route and you only have one left, and you can just kind of go into your storage and swap them out. And I'm pretty sure it heals them too. So like you could swap them
Oh
back
my
out. You can swap them
goodness.
back in. I think. I don't know about that for sure, but you can just swap it and kind of have unlimited Pokemon. So but
That
yeah,
gets a
you don't
little
have to
easy.
use it if you don't want
Hmm.
to.
Hmm.
BMOX wanted to know, with Pearl and Diamond coming out very soon, if you had to choose a version for a newcomer to Pokemon, which would you pick? Uh, BMAX, it does not matter which one you pick because it's
It
going to
really
be
doesn't.
pretty much the same game. There are some version exclusives, and the legendary that you catch is going to be the only real difference. So pick whichever box legendary you like the best, the one
Yeah,
that's on the cover.
that's basically it. It's just
Yeah.
like the legendary Pokemon. Which one do you like more? And you can actually just search up Pearl and Diamond or the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl exclusive Pokemon and
Mhm.
just look at those Pokemon. Which one do you prefer more? And you could just choose one. They're the same thing. And that's been Pokemon's tactic for a very long time
Yes.
now.
And they've made it so easy as long as you have Switch Online to be able to trade, over the internet with people. If you want the other version exclusives anyway, like let's say you really like the legendary that's on Diamond, but you
Hmm.
really like the exclusive Pokemon that are in Pearl, go with Diamond. Some of us in the PSVG Discord will just give you the Pokemon that are exclusive that you
Yeah.
can't get in the other version. Like, they make it so easy now. So it really doesn't matter which one you pick, but
Although I understand BMOX's confusion with different versions, because like an example is Fire Emblem Fates. So they had two different versions or two different really games, and it was Birthright and Conquest, completely different games. And
mhm.
Birthright was the more modern and easier Fire Emblem game where like an average person would go through and everything, and Conquest is the hardcore classic permadeath type of game. So I understand BMOX's like reasonable question of which version to pick, because I would definitely give them like one version versus the other. So
yeah, it's not, the other one I think of that kind of has the two versions like that is Oracle of Ages and Seasons for Zelda. It's not like that. You're getting the same core experience no matter what. They're the same game. Pick whichever one. Some other small Pokemon news. This came via a leak. I don't think it's been formally announced yet, but it's going to have to be pretty soon. Shiny Zacian and Shiny Zamazenta will be distributed via codes giving out at GameStop starting on October 22nd. The catch here is that you'll receive Zamazenta in Sword and Zacian in Shield. Okay. Here's my plea, guys. I have Pokemon Sword, and I picked Pokemon Sword because I really like Zacian. So you're gonna get one code from GameStop, and you're getting the opposite dog. So they pretty much is they want you to have whatever the opposite one is that you got, which is fine. I really want both shinies, but I only own Pokemon Sword. So here's my plea to our listeners. If anybody out there has a copy of Pokemon Shield and they don't care about Pokemon anymore, and they don't care about having this shiny Zacian, would you mind going to GameStop and getting a code, redeeming it in your game, and then trading it to me for free? Because I would love to have that.
Rebecca, I have Shield.
Oh, Garret, yes! I didn't even have to put a play out.
I'll go to GameStop just because I'll check the stock of OLED, of course, like every weekend. I don't care about Sword and Shield. Okay,
I have you, and I have Hobik in chat saying you can also give me a shiny Zacian. So these codes, like in my experience, it's a little bit hit or miss. Like with GameStop, there have been some of these events, and I hate how they do it. There have been some of these events where I walk in and they're like, "Sorry, we don't. What code? Like, what are you talking about?"
It really sucks sometimes. I'll probably call before I go there, because normally, like, if they don't know, it's like, nah, I ain't going to your store then.
I know.
So,
and they do that to get you in and to buy stuff, but man, I hate it.
Yeah,
I hate it.
It's sometimes a hit or miss with GameStop. There's some people that definitely know what they're doing, and some that's like, I have no clue. It's just like, we know it's happening. Why don't you, the employee, know that it's happening? But
well, thank you. There's my plea. We got Garret and Hobik and whoever else. Thank you. Reminder, our last little bit here is Animal Crossing Direct is airing tomorrow, Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you're listening to the live show, remember that is happening. We will see roughly 20 minutes of content being added to the game in November, including Brewster's Cafe. I'm getting pretty excited for this. I feel like this is like the third week in a row that we're talking about it, but coming off of Metroid Dread and how hard and how like much of a difficult grind that was to get through all those boss battles, I am so ready for a chill time in Animal Crossing, just peacing out with Halloween and the chill holidays and stuff. I hope it's good. I feel like I hope it's good too. Really low expectations. But I want
as you should.
Yeah.
As you should. I think it's good to come with very low expectations. Hopefully the Animal Crossing community is at that level as well. Because I feel like this is hidden.
They're not.
This is a hidden. Oh, really? It's overblown.
No. Oh, yeah.
They're like, this is going to be the best Animal Crossing stream ever.
People are saying because of the pandemic, all of their plans got pushed back, and that's why we didn't get any new holidays this year or any big updates. And so this is the one, guys. This is the one.
Guys,
it's always the one.
Don't set up you're setting up your own disappointment. I think
on one hand, 20 minutes is a long time, but they also could show us 20 minutes of Brewster Cafe gameplay.
That's what I think it very much could be. And that would be very not, I wouldn't be like too great, but at least you got Brewster, huh? You got someone that should have been the beginning of the game.
That's the thing. People have been begging for Brewster months and months and months and months, and now they're gonna add him, and people will still be pissed off.
Yeah, it's like, what? You didn't put an extra island in there? How dare you? It's just like, guys,
So
we literally saw just like a coffee, like in
we'll
the Nintendo Direct.
see.
Like,
We'll see.
I think it's just gonna be Brewster, and then some. I could see totally like crossover cosmetic type of things, just like in what's the Animal Crossing in 3DS? You know which
New
one I'm saying.
Leaf.
New Leaf, that's it. Yeah, I think they'll have crossover type of cosmetics, but that will be it. That is the Brewster in those things for 20 minutes.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk about it next week and how either disappointed or excited we were.
Sounds good.
Let's see. All right. That's it for this news. We do have a bunch of really good questions here.
Yeah.
We're at 1 hour 15 minutes right now. We'll go as long as we want to. Let me know, Garrett, when you want to stop. Shiv UK says I love this question.
This is a good question.
This is really good. We learned in a previous episode that Rebecca's mother listens to the show. It got me wondering, what friends or family members that listen to one or more of your podcasts, does it worry you at all? Every time I hear Rebecca chime in with nice during the Patreon shout out to HorseGirl69,
Nice.
I cringe a little bit on her behalf, thinking that her mother is listening. First of all, shout out, hi mom. She listens to all my shows.
Hi, Rebecca's mom.
I sent her this question as soon as Shiv asked it, and she just thought it was so funny. We were laughing at it. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I say nice at like a little, ha ha ha, funny number type of joke, but I don't know.
Right.
My mom's cool. My mom's super cool. She probably would say nice at it too. But I don't know. I think he clarified a little bit. Worry, he wasn't sure was the right word, but more of like, do you hold back with what you're saying because friends and family might be listening to the show? No, I don't. What about you, Garrett? Do you have anybody that listens to the show?
I don't necessarily. I mean, like, not really. I say I like, hey, I do a podcast. It's like, nerd, what are you doing? It's like, okay, thanks, Dad. But yeah, I don't have too many people. I know one friend that regularly listens to the show, and he's a gamer like me. So we actually talk in private a lot and do a bunch of impressions of games and everything like that. He's super excited for Metroid as well. So yeah, other than that, no, I don't hold back on really anything in the show because we're just talking about Nintendo, right? It's like it's not I'm like complaining about my dad at all or anything like that. But yeah, no, none of my family members listen to the show, and I don't really. I mean, like, I don't really want to force them, if that makes sense. It's like, hey, I'm doing a show. It's like, cool, my son is doing a show. Maybe I should have to listen to it. It's like, no, don't feel obligated to listen to it at all. It is for Nintendo fans. It is for our audience. It is okay. Don't feel obligated to watch it or listen.
There's my mom in chat. I love listening to the podcast, and it's so nice because my mom doesn't even like hardly know much about gaming at all. Like she doesn't play games, but she likes listening to me talk about it. So yay, mom support. But yeah, you're right. Like I would never force, a family member or a friend or significant other or whatever to be like, listen to what I'm doing, or and I will like send my parents and whoever my like articles that I write and things like that, sometimes if they're like really good or important ones, but like I'm not gonna force anybody to read them, and I'm not gonna like hold back what I'm talking about because it's just cool stuff that I'm interested in. And I feel like Elaine probably would have the same answer, but if she wants to chime in on this when she comes back next week, she can, because I think it's a good question. But yeah, cool. Thanks for asking that, Shiv. I liked it. The Winter Gamer wants to know, how much has life been getting in the way of gaming? He says, I find it very difficult with the wife needing my help a lot more due to her pregnancy. Yo, congratulations, Brendan.
Congrats, Brendan.
He says, do you sneak in time when going to the bathroom, play till you fall asleep in bed? Yeah, life gets in the way.
Life gets in the way too much, I think. With I feel like I don't want to say it's like an everyday type of thing where I have to think about when I have time to play games. I don't want to, and I don't want to feel like I'm forcing it into my life either. It's like it should be a middling road. There's a lot of other things that take priority over gaming. There's a lots of things that take priority over gaming, but I think gaming for me, and I think for like the rest of us here, it's a hobby. It's a good thing to escape into, to have fun, to talk with other friends. So yeah, we definitely need to have that time to do that. And I'm sure you have a lot more take on responsibilities with writing and reviewing and everything. So you probably feel like you want to dedicate a little bit more time to that hobby. But for me right now, my situation, I'm on a deadline. Gaming is not on a deadline. Gaming is never on a deadline, and it
That's the
shouldn't
way it
feel
should
like it's
be.
on a gaming should
Yeah.
not feel like a deadline at all. I know it kind of does feel like that though sometimes because of all the talk and all the hypeness that comes around one game, like Metroid Dread. Like that's a very good thing. And Far Cry 6, I feel like that's another game too. That's like, oh, everyone's talking about it. Maybe I should go get it. It's like, no, you don't really need to get it right now. Like
It's not going anywhere.
it's not going anywhere. And I think yeah, that's just my stance on it. It's like I think Brendan, do I how do I sneak in time? That's another good question. I go to the bus. So sometimes I do game on the bus.
That's a good time.
I have a lunch break as well. So I try to sneak in maybe 15 to 30 minutes or something like that. Something pretty short. And then when I sneak in time during the week, it's mostly after I'm done with all my chores and dinner and working out. It's like I have like maybe an hour or two to like just veg out and play some games before I just like fall asleep.
Yeah, you
But
brought
what
up a
about you?
really good point about how you feel like you're missing out if you're not playing it right away. And I'm
Yes.
also seeing a lot of people on Twitter, especially seeing everybody's clear times for Metroid Dread and being like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, how did you beat it so fast? The game hasn't even been out for a week yet. And you see that and you're like, oh my gosh, why am I not dedicating as much time? Like I need to hurry up
Right.
and beat this before I'm spoiled or so that I can talk about it before people move on to the next thing. And you're right, it shouldn't have to be like that. I feel like if you're not having fun and you're just rushing through it just for the sake of rushing through it, what's
Mhm.
even the point? Why are you bothering? But um I don't know. You shouldn't feel that way,
Yeah.
but I know a lot of people do. I get that way sometimes where like I want to
Yeah.
hurry up and beat something before people stop talking about it so that I can enjoy that and be part of that discussion. And it is a shame sometimes, but life definitely gets in the way. I do try to sneak in time here or there. I definitely am a in bed type of gamer where I will,
Okay.
and I love the Switch because of this, because I can like be playing, down on the TV, and then like I get washed up for bed, and then I'll like take this Switch with me into bed and like literally just play until I'm so tired and I'm about to fall asleep. So I definitely do that. Yes.
Mhm.
Um
Yeah.
I think that the Switch being hybrid works really well for that I'm able to sneak in little bits of time here and there because of that. Like you said, your lunch
It's
break,
very nice.
you would
Yeah.
not be able to do that if the Switch wasn't a handheld.
Right. Right. And I'm glad I got a good laptop as well. And then that's another way I could probably take things on. That's why I like mobile things in general. Is like because I am always traveling on the go. I like being out too. It's like I know I'm a gamer and I like to be in my room sometimes. Like, but I also like to go out and have fun. Like in bringing the Switch or Vita or whatever on with me as I go out on these trips. So that's pretty
Yeah.
much it.
Same. All right. TPR wants to know, was there a time when you remember a game so fondly because of nostalgia, but going back to play it, your view of the game was then soured? If so,
Mm.
which game and how did it fall from its pedestal? I thought of two games when he
Mm-hmm.
asked this question, and neither of them are actually Nintendo games, but can I talk about them anyway?
Yeah, go for it.
So I had two experiences like this where I remember, I think it was It was a Spyro game for the PS2. I think it was Spyro Enter the Dragonfly. And I haven't played a lot of Spyro, but from what I heard later, that is like one of the worst games in the series. I loved it as a kid. I loved running around the world and just breathing fire all over everything and ramming my Spyro head and horns into everything to like kill all the creatures. And I just loved doing that. I don't know how far I got in the story, but I tried to boot it up again as an adult to like relive the memories of all my PS2 games. And oh man, that game is bad. It is not fun. The controls are bad. The story is stupid. Yeah, Ryan Turford and Jeff, that game is real bad.
That's funny.
I don't want to go anywhere near that game ever again. A less extreme example that I thought of, I adored the game Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life as a kid. I played so much of that game. And that's another one that I revisited as I got a little bit older. I think it was on the GameCube. And it's still a very good game, but the quality of like something, it didn't pass through some kind of quality filter or, you know, QA testing or whatever, because there's a lot of like typos and like bad grammar and stuff in that game where just like, I don't know how people didn't catch that, but as a kid, I guess I didn't really notice those things as well. So the game still lived up, you know, it was a little bit clunky as GameCube games are, but I was just very surprised that got through to a major Harvest Moon release, you know, lots of spelling errors and typos and grammar errors and stuff. What about you?
Yeah, I got a couple of them too, not Nintendo related as well.
Funny how they're not Nintendo related, because all Nintendo games live up.
Apparently. There is a set of Star Wars games, and there's a set of just licensed games in general I played so much as a kid, and I'm just like thinking here is like, now I know they are probably terrible. So one Star Wars game was Episode 3. Star Wars Episode 3, I think it was for the DS, I think, or the GBA. I can't recall. It was one of those. It was a handheld one.
Some of those GBA DS games were really clunky with like the touch controls and stuff. Yeah,
they were so bad, and so I played some of that. I also played the 360 version or whatever of or the Xbox regular version of Star Wars Episode 3. It was so bad, but I loved it so much because I was just a Star Wars nerd at that point. And there's an alternative ending where Anakin actually kills Obi-Wan in the lava pit, and it was just so weird. It's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. But now I'm thinking, I was like, that is a really bad game.
It's so funny though, because as kids, we don't care about that really at all. We don't care that it's clunky. We don't care that it's bad, that the gameplay isn't top notch or the story stinks. Like, and I feel like we're often so critical of these new releases, but like a lot of kids who are playing it just simply don't care about, you know, that depth or problems that we as adults would have with it. And I think that's important to keep in mind. I feel like that's definitely. Especially true with Pokemon. We keep saying how down the drain Pokemon has gotten in recent generations, and kids don't care.
Kids really don't care. They just love how they just press buttons and there's cute creatures right in front of their eyes, and that's it. And that's good. I'm glad they're still getting into Pokemon. That's actually pretty crazy to see how long Pokemon has been around. It's for a while now. Another game is actually Borderlands 1. Because I really liked that game at the time. And I still feel much nostalgia for it. It's just that Borderlands 2 does it so much better. And there's a lot of, and it's very clunky. Borderlands 1 is very clunky, very bland game. There's not like a lot of color to it. The story's kind of like not that great either. So yeah, I really enjoyed it at the time. I loved playing it with friends at the time, but Borderlands 2, it just blows it out of the water. So that's
I've never played
example.
Borderlands, but yeah, that is so funny how We just don't notice all of those same things as a kid, or like maybe you just don't notice it until you get to those ones later in the series.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
I like that question. That was a good question. Let's do a couple more. We got rated
Sounds
in
good.
chat. So
Nice.
yeah, welcome on in, everybody. Adam wants to know, do you guys use a grip for your Nintendo Switch? If so, which do you prefer? He says he prefers the Satisfy grip, but would be interested in hearing about experiences with other grips. I will say, and I don't use a grip for handheld mode, but I kind of wish that I had one for playing through those last couple boss battles in Dread on handheld mode, because it's so much better with that Pro controller. So do you use a grip? I think you do, don't you?
I do use like a couple of things. So for my Switch Lite, I do have a Satisfy grip for it, and it feels very nice with it. But sometimes I like to take it off because it's a little bit too, I don't know, like too elongated with the palms to the back of the handheld device compared to the one that's for the OG Switch. So I don't know. Sometimes I take it off. Sometimes I leave it on. It depends on game to game. Right now, I have it on for Metroid. For the OG Switch, Split Pad Pro is my only one I go to. And I don't really care to get much else. I feel like if something works for me, then I don't need to get much more of anything else. I don't like to experiment too much with the grips or anything like that. I know Donnie recently has been into all the grips in different Joy-Cons or whatever.
Really big on the grips, yeah.
Yeah, so if you want more information or more scoops on just like, I think he got the Skull and Candy one with the Switch OLED. I'm sure he'll get maybe the Satisfy one as well. Yeah, head over to him because he has a lot more information on different types of grips.
Definitely hit up Donnie for all of your Switch grip questions and needs. He will point you in the direction for the best ones.
Definitely.
But no, I haven't really ever used one. Apparently I have very small hands is like always the comments that I get when I post pictures of like me holding my Switch on Twitter and whatnot. So maybe that's why like I read about people's experiences with Dread saying, oh man, my hands are cramped up really badly after all these boss fights. And I didn't really have that problem too much. So I never felt the need to get a grip, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe if you have bigger hands, you will want to get one.
I like the Joy-Con, actual Joy-Con nub feel of the Split Pad Pro. And I feel like any other grip that has that, I really don't like the nubs on the Joy-Cons itself. It's just a little too, it doesn't, I don't feel like in control in a lot of action games with it. So anyways.
Fair. I get that. G-Man wants to know Animal Crossing Direct tomorrow. Anything you're hoping for? I think we talked a little bit, about that last week, kind of what we're hoping to see, just any type of substantial content, anything a little bit more than just Brewster. He had a second part to the question. I wasn't sure if it was Animal Crossing related or like real life related, but he wanted to know favorite fall activity that's fun to do. I don't know. I'm going to take it as a real life.
I'll take it as a real life.
Sure. I love the cool weather and like things, I hate the heat too much of summer. I don't like to be outside in the heat and humidity. So I just like really like being outside and like whether it's hiking or like just enjoying that cool weather and kind of smelling like the crispness of the air and the leaves changing colors and whatnot. I just like being outside in the fall and getting a warm drink and like maybe a bonfire. I love fall so much. It's my favorite.
Fall is great. I enjoy fall much more than I say other seasons, just because it puts you in a mood. It's just like I don't know. It's just the atmosphere. The leaves are falling, as you said. Football is out and is in season. I feel like fall is an underrated season to do stuff. Favorite fall activity? I actually recently went to a pumpkin patch.
Ooh.
It was just really cool to do, and they had a huge like kind of market and had other things around there. So yeah, pumpkin picking was pretty fun. Have you done pumpkin picking?
I have a few years ago. I haven't recently, but that is a fun fall activity. Definitely gets you in that autumny Halloween mood for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Spader is a fellow Pennsylvanian in our chat. Both of us are in Pennsylvania, me and Garrett, and he brings up a good point about how Pennsylvania weather in fall is a little bit hard to dress for sometimes because it's so cool and chilly in the morning. I feel like I need a jacket, but then it gets pretty warm. I think today was like, 76, 77 degrees. You really have to wear
ridiculous
layers because it does get warm. So I like kind of that, late October, early November weather before it gets too cold, when it's not so hot throughout the whole day. Those crisp autumn mornings I like.
Yeah. Texas is not like that. It's all warm.
Not at all. Good question, G-Man. I like that. I like sometimes when we get some real life types of questions like that. You good to do these last two? I know we're kind of going over time a little bit. Matt Cole wants to know, what's your go-to gaming snack or beverage?
I honestly, I don't have a go-to gaming snack or beverage, but if I would have to guess, if it's during the day, it's a coffee. If it's at night, it's a beer. That's okay. I feel like that's my go-to drinks if I am doing some sort of like entertainment, either movie or video game. Those are the two things I fall on, is a coffee or a beer.
Yeah, I don't really snack while I'm gaming either.
Yeah.
I don't want to like get on the controllers or, anything like that. Or I just have a hard time, I think, balancing like eating and playing. But I agree with you with the coffee. It doesn't matter if it's during the day or in the evening. I'll make myself a cup of coffee to game with for sure.
It keeps me up. I feel like I mean beer's probably I've been really slowing down on it like recently just because it gets me tired. And it's like I don't want to play anymore. I just want to sleep after I drink, if I go through one drink. Coffee though, it's like I can sucker down 3 of them and be like, I'm fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
it's an addiction.
Sometimes it'll keep me up, but like I don't think I ever really have trouble sleeping, even if I drink a coffee in the evening. I'll like make a cup of coffee at like 8:00 and be okay. So I know not everybody's like that though, but yeah. And then finally, to keep us on the topic of food, Zell Daniel wanted to know best Nintendo-themed ice cream ideas.
That's so good.
While I don't I don't know if I have an answer for this, it made me think, do you remember as a kid when the ice cream truck would come around and you would have like those god-awful like Sonic popsicles where like the eyeball would be falling off and things like that? Like that's what that question made me think of.
Definitely. I remember hearing the ringtone and the flashy whatever. They have chocolate bars and popsicles and everything like that. Yeah, definitely.
But Nintendo themed ice cream,
that's a good one.
I feel like there has to be some kind of banana split with Donkey Kong. Like maybe you have
that's
like
a good
chocolate
one.
Ice cream with banana would be like your Donkey Kong ice cream.
That's a good one. I think for Luigi, what's that? It could be like the mint ice cream, chocolate chip mint ice cream, or something like that. I think Nintendo itself, the red, just screams red velvet ice cream to me.
Yes.
It would be so good.
Duxard in chat said big scoop of mint chocolate chip with red chocolate chips and 4 cones stuck in it. Boom, ice cream Metroid. Man, this is making me think we need to open up an ice cream parlor that's video game themed, where we have Metroid ice cream, we have our Donkey Kong splits, we have our, maybe you have the red velvet for Nintendo, maybe a blueberry for Sony. Like, man, I like this. I think we should open up an ice cream parlor. This is a good concept, Daniel. This is a very good concept.
Nintendo, don't cease and desist us, please.
Like, this is making me think, what else can we do? Can we have like strawberry ice cream for Kirby? Like,
or cotton candy as
cotton candy.
Yeah.
And like we'll have to add stuff to make it even more themed.
Star Fox R-Wing popsicle, says Kyle. That would be a cool one to do as well. There's so many things you could do with Nintendo. I'm sure they have something. They must have something at that Nintendo World place, right? Like they must have an ice cream place there.
Do they?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I'm sure they
I
probably do.
I feel like a park should have that, but I don't know. It's Japan. They might be selling sushi instead, or something like that. I don't know.
Man,
Not
this is
American
giving
ice
me
cream.
ideas. I know. If only we wouldn't get sued by Nintendo, we could open
Yeah,
up an
that's
ice
true.
cream parlor. I like it. Toad Cherry Garcia,
That's a
Red
good one.
Velvet and a green cone, Splatoon's Banana Grape Men.
What would be
Says
Zelda?
Edgardo.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, what could be?
Would it be something simple and elegant? Like, I don't know, like a sweet
I would say
cream or something like
or
that?
like a vanilla bean for Zelda's like royalty. Maybe like you know
Yeah.
how like those really posh places put like those gold shavings and it costs like $5 million.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
Yeah.
your Zelda ice cream.
There we go. $5 million ice cream scoop for Zelda. I'm sure Nintendo fans will go for it.
Or maybe just your white ice cream with like gold sprinkles or something.
Yeah,
Do
you
say,
can put some
do you
gold
say
sprinkles.
or Jimmy's?
What the heck is a Jimmy?
Is that that's a Philadelphia thing?
that is an
I
alien.
thought that might have been a Pennsylvania thing, but it's a Philly thing.
Jimmy's
In
is
Philly,
so
they say Jimmy's, but I don't say Jimmy's.
interesting. Yeah,
I
it's
only say
sprinkles.
Jimmy's if
Yeah.
like they're the little tiny dots, but like the regular long ones are the sprinkles.
I never heard of Jimmy's before. Pop really still freaks me out too, but that's just that's just
Pop.
a thing.
That's a Pittsburgh thing, or like a
Pittsburgh is weird
Midwestern.
too. They have their own language in like so many different words, and I'm like, what are you saying? You
Yins.
youngins, you yins, and it's like, okay, sure.
Apparently, they
but
also
yeah.
say Jimmy's in Boston now. Boston is trying to copy off of the Philly thing.
Ah,
So, yep. The more
these
you know.
words.
All right, now I want ice cream, so I probably will try to find some ice cream or
There
run
you go.
over to Wawa to get some.
Oh, you know what?
Local
We don't have
things.
a Wawa over here. Like, what the heck? We're in the
Ooh,
same state.
Wawa's starting to spread, though. I think there's more and more
Mhm.
of them. You might get them pretty soon, but Wawa.
Mm, okay.
I go there probably every day.
Really? No. Okay.
Mhm.
It's good stuff.
Good times. Got my coffee from there today. So there you
Yes, you did.
go. All right. I'm hungry, so that's gonna do it. So
There you
I can
go.
go get my not Nintendo themed ice cream. But we'll be back next week, hopefully with Elaine returning to us, where we will talk about the Animal Crossing Direct, and I'm sure she'll share her thoughts on Metroid Dread. Maybe we'll say a little bit more after Garrett has beat it as well.
Yeah.
And until then, go check out my review. Oh, and one other thing I want to plug. I can't share totally what it is yet, but I'm doing something really cool with some really cool people on Monday, and I think they're going to announce it tomorrow. So
Nice.
2 reasons to keep your eye on my Twitter feed tomorrow for this announcement that I'm pretty sure they're saying tomorrow, and my Metroid Dread review. So yeah, get excited, everybody.
Get excited. That's awesome.
All right, that's going to do it. Thank you again, everybody, and we will see you next week. Good night, Koopalings.
Bye-bye.